In this lesson, we're going to start looking at how to execute smart contract functions. There's a good bit of information that you're going to want to copy and paste from the actual text of this tutorial. So I just wanted to point out, like for example, we're going to use this rain address for most of this, and instead of me sitting here and typing it out, I just wanted to show you where you can copy and paste it from. In order to interact with a smart contract, you need what's called an ABI, which stands for Application Binary Interface. Essentially, it's a list of functions and characteristics of those functions in JSON format, which will allow us to load the smart contract interface into Web3 and then call those functions. There's really two components. The ABI is, as I said, the list of functions, and then you have the address of the actual contract. So if we look at an ERC20 token, for example, most of the tokens that have been deployed for various ICOs and what have you were ERC20. So they're all going to have, well, most of them should have the same ABI. I can't speak for all of them, but if they follow the ERC20 spec, ultimately the ABI should be the same. What that means is they have the same functions, and those functions accept the same arguments, and so on and so forth. But the actual address they're deployed at will be different, and you'll see what that means momentarily. For the moment, though, let's just copy and paste this array, which is this entire ABI. So copy that, and then I'll see you back in the terminal. Okay, so we're back over here, and I'm going to say let ERC20 ABI equal, and then we're just going to paste in that whole big thing. Make sure it loaded the way that I expect. Okay, cool. So let's actually take a quick look. This is a little bit of a detour, but let's look through here. I have a particular one I want to find. Let's see, maybe it's that one. Okay, so this is the balance of functions. So each element in the array contains some piece of this smart contract that's important, and most of them are actually the functions that are contained within the smart contract. The ABI is what tells Web3 how to talk to the smart contract. So for example, we can see that this is a function. We can see that the function is called balance of. We can take a look and see the inputs, and so it's telling you that the first input should be owner, and that's it. So we're checking to see, like, so you could call balance of and then pass in an owner address. It tells you the data type that it should be, so on and so forth. So I just kind of wanted to take a look at this and explain slightly what's going on inside this ABI. So if you ever write your own smart contract, you'll need to generate an ABI from that in order to talk to it from the web or from a server that's not within the actual Ethereum blockchain. Finally, if we look over here at the actual ERC20 token standard, you can see all of the functions that we have inside of our ABI listed here within the ERC20 interface. So if you have an ERC20 token that you're working with, or any other smart contract that you're working with, the ABI will represent the actual functions on the contract. So now let's load up an actual contract and start looking at how to call functions on it. So first of all, I copied this rain address from the actual text of the tutorial. And this points to an address where there's a token created on the Ropsten testnet called rain. And then what we need to do now is say let rain contract equal new web3 ETH contract, and then we need to give it the ERC20 ABI and then the actual address where this token lives. So what this is doing is it's saying, okay, the first argument is all the functions that are on this contract so that we know how to talk to it, and then we're saying it lives at this address so we know where to talk to it. So now we can look at the rain contract and see what all we have here. So the way that we talk to the contracts is we say something like rain contract dot methods, and then if we want to actually call a method, we send that method to the methods object, basically. So for example, there's a total supply is a function. So that's actually going to return back to me the function, but you can see on here that there's this call function within there. So we need to say .call, and that's going to return a promise. So we need to give it a then console.log the result. And you can see here that we get back the current total supply of this contract. So the next thing that we can do is actually check our balance. So we can say rain contract dot methods dot balance of, and this is that function I was looking at earlier. It takes one address, so we'll say account dot address, and then we'll call it, and then we'll then console.log. And you can see here that I have a balance of 0 that comes back. So toward the end of the previous lesson, we wrote out this utility function for doing simple transfers in the context that we're doing them. So I'm going to copy that, and then we're going to paste it into the terminal, and we're going to use that in just a second. So I'm just going to paste that in here, and now we have this xfer function. You can see that it takes a from account and a to address and an amount. The amount can be a float or an integer or a string. It's just going to convert it into a string here. So I also want to get one other thing. I went ahead and copied the other function called ETH balance. So we should be able to do ETH balance account, and we have 0.4999, and then we can do account 2, and we have 0.5. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to just get some tokens. So the smart contract for Rain is built so that if you send it a little bit of Ether, it will send you back your Ether, and it will send you some tokens. So we can do something like xfer, and we'll say from account is just account, to address, we need to actually say Rain address. So we're sending tokens to the actual smart contract. And then I'll just say 0.2, and we'll see what we get back. So we'll need to wait, and this will return back to us in a second whenever we get the transaction finishing. Okay, so that took me maybe a minute to finish. So if it takes a second, just be patient with it. I'm going to cycle back up through here. So I'm going to check the balance of account now and see how many tokens we have. Okay, so I have, what is that, 2 times 10 to the 18 it looks like, but I think that gave me back 2 tokens. We'll check on that in a second. So I'm actually going to just do a quick function here so that we can use this a little more easily. So we'll say ERC20 balance. We need to know a contract, we need to know a holder, which will be an address. I guess we could put that, but that's okay. So the contract dot methods dot balance of holder dot call dot then, and then we'll grab the response. And what I want to do here is basically get the balance from this from way thing we were looking at. Okay, and then we'll just console.log that balance. Okay, now I need to close this off properly. Let's see, and I think I just have that. Okay, so now I can say ERC20 balance of Rain contract, and then we'll say like account dot address. Let's see how much it tells us we have. So we have 2 tokens. So I guess it sends back 10 times whatever you send it. So we sent 0.2, and it sent us 2 back. So let's just xfer. What are the arguments again? From account to, so we have from account to, and then we'll say to Rain address, and we'll say 0.3. And again, that'll take a minute. Okay, so that's come back now. Looks like successful. So we'll do ERC20 balance rain contract, and then account 2.address. And I have 3, yeah. So it sends back 10 times whatever we send it. And then also we can check our ETH balance of account and account 2. And you'll notice that both of them now are in this 4.999 thing, and that's because there is gas costs associated with sending tokens anywhere, regardless of what happens. So this contract does send back the tokens to you, but you still end up paying gas.